Okay, I'm going to get started by welcoming you guys. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see all of you guys. Sawadee Kap. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. Today is our Sunday night meditation where I just guide you guys in a meditation session. And then I'm just essentially going to open up to any and all questions that you guys have related to the teachings of the Buddha and the path to enlightenment. Because what the Buddha did over 2,500 years ago is he figured out how to get to enlightenment. What enlightenment is where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. You can get to a point where you no longer experience any discontent feelings. You can eliminate all your anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind through training of the mind. So tonight what we're going to be doing is loving kindness meditation, which is essentially going to help you to eliminate anger, hatred, and ill will, and all the lesser versions like frustration, agitation, annoyance, even the slightest dislike. Right now, if you have certain people that you like and then certain people that you dislike, that dislike is actually coming from your own mind. Oftentimes people think that it's coming from the other person, but in reality, it's the mind having a craving for permanence and wanting things to be a certain way. And as long as the mind's getting what it wants, it experiences pleasant feelings or happiness, and it will like this person. But when your mind doesn't get what you want, then the mind experiences this anger and frustration. And oftentimes what the unenlightened mind will do is it will push people away. This is called aversion, where you might push away your friends or family out of your life, or you might be bitter and harsh and hostile to people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. Or you might start putting your expectations on people and trying to control them or force them to do things your way. And this is just going to promote disharmony in your relationships. You can actually get to a point where your relationships are all harmonious. And this meditation of loving kindness meditation is going to essentially help you to rewire your mind so that you can be more loving and kind, and then you can go out into the world and be loving and kind through your intentions, your speech, and your actions, because you wouldn't be able to just meditate your way to the elimination of anger and hatred and all these other feelings. You're actually going to need to go out into the world and be loving and kind through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. So that's why people study the teachings of the Buddha, not just meditation, but there's other teachings as well that are going to guide you in how to make wise decisions about how to interact with people. So if you'd like to join for the meditation, the way that I start this is with some chanting to ease us into the meditation. And if you guys would like to chant along, you're more than welcome to. I have the chants over there on the table, on the cabinet. You're welcome to help yourself and chant along if you like. For those of you guys that are online, these chanting sheets are on our website at buddhadailywisdom.com. You can click on free books, and then you can scroll down towards the middle of that page and you'll see the daily chants there. The chanting during the lifetime of the Buddha, it was used as a learning tool or as a learning device. Every 2 weeks, the students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. So you can see from the origins of chanting that this isn't a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer, or anything like that. There's none of those kinds of things in the teachings of the Buddha. If you're seeing rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer associated with the teachings of the Buddha, those are misunderstandings that people are having. He never taught any of those kinds of things. He's actually teaching you to train your mind. So these chants that we're doing, when we do these chants today, we don't need them as a learning tool or as a learning device like during the lifetime of the Buddha. Instead, we use it as a way to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. So if you decide to chant along, you'll notice that improved benefit. If you end up getting one of these chanting sheets, you'll see the English translations on there where you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha even created these chants himself, because the Buddha wouldn't have walked around and said, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me, because this would be arrogance or pride. This would be ego and putting yourself above people or below people. And by the time you get to enlightenment, you don't actually do that any longer. That the ego has been eliminated. So the Buddha wouldn't have taught people to do chanting to him out of respect for him. But if you learned from a teacher how to move from anger, sadness, frustration, and all these other discontent feelings to the peaceful and joyful mental state that is enlightenment, and this teacher didn't want anything from you or expect anything from you, you might actually have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for this person too. And that's why I think that these chants actually came from his students, either during his life or after his death. So I'm going to be chanting these on the way into meditation. Once we get into meditation, I'm going to be guiding you in what's called breathing mindfulness meditation, where you're going to be focused on the breath. And anytime the mind moves off the breath, you cut that off and let it go and come back to the breath. Then there's going to be a period of time of quietness where we're just meditating. Everybody here at the temple and everyone online who's joining will just be meditating. Now, during that period of time, it's a short period of breathing mindfulness meditation. I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear a car go by, a dog barking, a bird chirping. Someone here might cough or sneeze. If you have a craving for permanent silence, when you hear a sound during your meditation, you will cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated. This is why you can actually eliminate these discontent feelings, because the mind is causing it itself. The unenlightened mind has a craving for permanence while you live in an impermanent world. So if you're in meditation, understanding that the world is impermanent, when you hear a sound, you'll know that that sound's going to arise, it's going to change, and it's going to fade away. This is the way that the world functions. And you can just be at ease without any kind of annoyment or frustration. Then I'm going to come back in with some guidance on loving kindness meditation. This is what's going to help to rewire your mind to be more loving and kind. You're going to hear me say phrases like, may I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of all discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. You'd like to say this on the out breath, inside your own mind. You're going to hear me saying it out loud just to guide you guys, but you'd like to say it within your own mind on the out breath. Then we're going to move to a little bit wider ring where we're going to say, may mom and dad be peaceful, safe, well, and free of discontentedness. And we're going to go through these different rings, and eventually we're going to get to all beings. Now, when we're doing these rings, it's not to change mom and dad. That's not what we're doing. You can't actually change other people through your meditation. It's not possible. Otherwise, there would be no such thing as rapes and murders and child abuse, because a bunch of us would just get together, we would start meditating, and then we would change the whole world. It's not possible to change the world through your meditation. All you can do is change your own mind. So what this meditation is doing is it's helping to rewire your mind to be more loving and kind, so that way when you're around mom and dad and these other individuals that we are going to include in our meditation, that you can be more loving and kind. So sometimes when I do this meditation, people think that we're maybe sending loving kindness to mom and dad, or we're trying to change mom and dad, or we're trying to invoke some kind of special power to change mom and dad. There's none of that kind of stuff in the teachings of the Buddha. It's all about your own inner growth and your inner development, so that now when you're around mom and dad, you can be more loving and kind through your intention, speech, and actions. And that's how you're going to improve your relationship. You won't improve your relationship by changing other people. You actually need to change your own mind. That's what's going to improve your relationships. So we're going to go through these different rings, and eventually we're going to get to all beings. Then we're going to go back to breathing mindfulness meditation, and then we're going to go back to the chanting. The way that I think about this is like a loving kindness sandwich, where you've got loving kindness in the middle, and then the lettuce and tomato is the breathing mindfulness meditation, and then the bread holding it all together, that's the chanting. So this is the process that I'm going to take. Now, with this loving kindness meditation, you could actually do it in either the seated, lying, or standing positions. There is a walking position that the Buddha taught, but we don't typically do the loving kindness meditation in the walking position. And oftentimes students are learning in the seated position. So I'm going to provide you a little bit of guidance on the seated position just to kind of help you along. But when you take courses and retreats, you can learn all these different positions. And it's kind of like having a tool belt. And now you use these different tools at different times in your journey to enlightenment. But oftentimes, since people are learning in the seated position, I'll just share a little bit of guidance with you on that. You can really sit however you like, whether you're on the floor in a chair, or if you're at home, maybe you're on a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. There isn't just one way to sit. If there was just one way to sit, that would be permanence, where in reality, we live in an impermanent world. Everybody's body is a little bit different. So you're going to find something unique for yourself that is comfortable. So you can use something that I'm sharing, or you can use whatever you come up with. It's really up to you. What's important is that your body's comfortable, that it's not painful and it's not luxurious, but instead that it's in the middle where it's comfortable. So if you'd like to use something that I'm sharing, that's fine. But if you come up with something on your own, you can use that too. So if you're on the floor, you might have some cushions under your rear. This will kind of help soften your seat a bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross leg position, you might just choose to do that lightly. because that way the circulation can flow and you won't have any pain in your lower body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, again, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable, you could use it. But again, it's not about everyone doing it exactly the same way. There's other options here as well. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs. Some people put their palms on their knees or their palms up, or some people just rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. And the same thing's true for someone who's sitting in a chair or a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly crossed at the ankles. But here, when I sit in this chair, I actually sit with my legs crossed. So that's an option as well. And then you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. With your upper body, you'd like this to be erect. With the sternum up and the shoulders back, it'll help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you're real rigid with the upper body, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be in the middle with the sternum up and the shoulders back, because it'll keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. What meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. This also helps you by having the sternum up and the shoulders back, not only to keep the mind attentive and alert, but to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So again, I'm going to do some chanting here to ease into the meditation. You guys are welcome to join in, and then I'll come back in with the guidance to help you. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakewa Bhutang Mahakewanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakewata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakewato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rogavitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusarang Bhoto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here, you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Then I'll come back with more guidance on loving kindness meditation. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Repeat these phrases in the mind on the out breath. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May mom and dad be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering that it causes. May my family, friends, co-workers, and neighbors all be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. May all those who have caused me harm be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. May all those who I have harmed be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. May all beings, wherever they reside, be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be free of discontentedness and the suffering that it causes. Now return back to breathing mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Breathing in and out. Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Wat Tung Bhagavanang Abhivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสเอมะเกวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิจาจารนังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังโอโตภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, good evening to all of you guys. Nice to see you all here. Welcome to everyone online as well. As I was mentioning, this is loving kindness meditation. This is a meditation that's going to help you to rewire your mind to be loving and kind with all beings. Right now, that might be a challenge for you. You might be kind of bitter and harsh and hostile in certain situations, but you can actually change all of this. This is actually coming from your own mind. Oftentimes, people think that it's other people that are causing you to experience these types of feelings and this kind of conduct, but it's actually coming from your own mind, and you can transform that. This loving kindness meditation is to help you bring into your mind where you have a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, active goodwill towards all beings. And as you practice that in your day-to-day life, that's where your relationships will really change. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share a few little things with you about the teachings of the Buddha, and then ultimately I'm just going to open up to any and all questions you guys have, whether it's something you're seeing here in Thailand, whether it's something that you've learned other places and you're looking to get some insight on what you're learning, or perhaps you're having some personal challenges and you need some help with those kinds of things. So as I share, you're welcome to ask questions when I get to the end. I have microphones here in the white bowl, and there's also some up here in the front. If you could get a microphone and bring it back to your seat, press the gray button, you're going to see the lights come on, and you can hold this up to your chin, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then you can keep these with you because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you can just share the microphone with them. And then if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll be helpful so we don't get feedback through the speakers. And then anybody who's online, you can put your questions into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section, and I'll be able to see that. Or in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and ask any and all questions that you like that way. So oftentimes what happens in the unenlightened state, when an individual is unenlightened, they experience a certain amount of difficulties in their relationships. You guys might be experiencing that, whether it's with your parents, your siblings, your life partner, maybe if you have children or other people like this, maybe even your boss and your coworkers. You can actually transform all of this. Oftentimes people think the problems are external and they're trying to change external circumstances. They might be trying to change their parents or their siblings or their boss or other people like this. But in reality, if you work on your own mind and you train your own mind, you'll be able to get to a point where your mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. You can eliminate all your discontent feelings, where you'll no longer experience any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated through training of the mind. You'll need much more than just meditation in order to train your mind to get to this enlightened mental state. So that's why teachers will share with you, helping you to understand the teachings that you need to be able to get to enlightenment. By the time you get to enlightenment, you'll have focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. all your personal and professional relationships are really blossoming. They're at harmony, that you don't have that bitterness, harshness, and hostility in your mind anymore. So you'll notice that your relationships are going really well for you because you don't have that bitterness and hostility any longer in your mind, and you're not being bitter and harsh and hostile with people. But in the unenlightened state, it's very challenging to be able to experience that you might be going around and being bitter and harsh and hostile to a certain degree. So the teachings of the Buddha are providing you a path where you can train your mind and do this inner work to be able to heal from what's hurting you so that you never need to hurt ever again. But it's not the outside world that's actually hurting you. It's what's going on in the mind. The mind has something called craving, desire, attachment, wants, and expectations. The mind is longing, yearning, chasing after the objects of your affection. And if you get what you want, you experience pleasant feelings like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, or euphoria. But if the mind doesn't get what it wants, it gets painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. So the mind can only be happy if it gets what it wants in the unenlightened state. So for example, if you wake up and it's sunny outside and you get really happy and excited about that, that's called conditional happiness, that you can only be happy if a certain condition is being met. But the thing is that sun is not permanent, because you live in an impermanent world. So that sun is going to change to rain someday. And now when it's raining, you might be sad or frustrated or angry. Or if you get really happy when your bank account balance is up here, when it goes down here, you'll be angry or sad or frustrated. The only thing that's happening in this situation is change. That's all that's happening. But the unenlightened mind craves permanence. It wants things to be permanent when you live in an impermanent world. This is why when you got together in a relationship with a boyfriend or girlfriend, that when you guys first came together, you were really happy and excited about that because the mind was getting what it wanted. You were getting affection. You were getting to spend time with this person. But over time, your relationship deteriorated and it fell apart. And now you might have been really angry or frustrated during that period of time. That's not from your love. If you think that you're falling in love and out of love with people, or if you think that love hurts or love is painful, this isn't actually from your love. It's actually your craving for permanence. That when you're in the relationship, the mind's getting what it wants. But when you break up, you're experiencing that impermanence. You're experiencing that change, and the mind doesn't like that. So one of the ways to say this is that the mind craves permanence, or another way to say it is that the mind does not like impermanence. It doesn't like change. The teachings of the Buddha aren't based in belief. So you can't believe what it is that I'm sharing with you here. You need to be able to look at this in your own life to be able to see the truth for yourself. Look at your own life. Look at a recent situation where you've been angry or sad or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. It could have been this morning or yesterday or last week. Look at that situation with these fresh eyes. What was it that you wanted? What did you expect? And if you would have gotten what you wanted, you would have been happy. But because you didn't get what you wanted or expected, you were angry or sad or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. If you can see this for yourself, you can actually have a breakthrough to being able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. Because oftentimes what the mind does when it's experiencing these discontent feelings is it will firmly believe they're coming from somebody else. And this is where you'll tend to push people away out of your life. This is called aversion. Or you'll be bitter, harsh, and hostile to people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. Or you'll start putting expectations on people and try to pressure them to do things your way. And people might actually be doing this to you too, where they're pushing you away. They're being bitter, harsh, and hostile to you, or they're putting expectations on you and trying to control you. So as long as an individual doesn't understand that it's their own mind that's causing these feelings and that it's craving, desire, attachment, then this is going to continue because the mind's trying to get this permanence. It's trying to get things the way that it wants. And it feels like this person who's doing things differently than what you want, you feel like if you push them away, then now you're going to get what you want. Or being bitter, harsh, and hostile to someone, the mind's trying to fear them into doing things your way. or putting expectations on someone and trying to pressure them to do things your way. So you'll never get to harmony in your relationships by doing this. You'll just continue to experience the same difficulties and struggles over and over and over again. So the Buddha discovered this better way of life to be able to train your mind and get to this peaceful and joyful mental state. And you can do that in this life when you train your mind through his teachings. But as I mentioned, it's not based in belief, because with belief, you don't know what's true or false. You're just believing it because somebody convinced you to believe it, or you convinced yourself to believe it. In order to be able to get to enlightenment, you need to cultivate wisdom. And the way that you do that is through learning, investigating, and examining the teachings. You then reflect on them to verify if they're true or false. Then you practice his teachings, integrating them into your day-to-day life and starting to make decisions through those teachings. And that's where you actually see the real improvement in your day-to-day life. So I'm going to just stop here and see if there's anything you guys would like to talk about. We can have a discussion here about things that you guys would like to talk about, whether it's the teachings of the Buddha, things you're seeing here in Thailand, about things that you're learning, certain challenges that you might be having in your own life. Maybe you have questions about meditation or other things like this. You can let me know. We have the microphones here, and then online you guys can put those into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or raise your hand in Zoom and ask any questions that you like. So is there any questions you guys would like to ask here or online? You have a question? Yeah. Help yourself. Usually it takes one question and then everybody starts asking questions, right?
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, they can hear you too. Thank you.
I went to a temple whenever I first got here, and I was told that I couldn't enter because I was female, and it made me really upset. And I feel like it's a really complicated situation.
Okay, so that is not the teachings of the Buddha. Each one of these temples are independently operated, and the people that run those temples, they can operate it however they like, essentially. And I know which temple you're talking about. It's here in Chiang Mai, right? Yeah. So this is well known that it's not what the Buddha taught. The Buddha didn't teach this. I can explain to you what they're thinking and why they think like this. They've never told me this, but just from spending a lot of time around Thai people, from what I've seen and heard from some Thai people, some people think that women have very strong spiritual power, and particularly when they're menstruating. And they think that if they allow women into their temple when they're menstruating, it's somehow going to mess up their spiritual energy in their temple. This is not true. The Buddha never taught anything like this. And he taught that everybody's equal, everybody's welcome. That's why here, everybody's welcome. There's no rules here. You can wear whatever you like to wear. You can sit wherever you like to sit. You can do whatever you like to do. It's up to me to train my own mind to make sure that I don't have craving, desire, attachment in my mind, where oftentimes what people do is they try to change the outside world. So that's why you see some of these temples, they have dress codes and all these other rules that they're trying to get people to function a certain way at their temple. Where for me, I know that there's the natural law of karma, and if you do something wise, you're going to experience wholesome results or wholesome karma. And if you make decisions that are unwise, you'll experience unwholesome karma or unwholesome results. So it's up to each individual to train their own mind. It's not up to change the outside world. So that's not the teachings of the Buddha, and it's unfortunate that that's what happened. But you wouldn't necessarily be interested in going to those kinds of temples anyway, because they're not actually sharing the original teachings. In terms of you getting help and benefit to be able to train your mind, you need the actual true teachings of the Buddha. And that's what we do here, is we share the original words of the Buddha so you can see what did he teach and what he didn't teach. So that's about the temple. But now let's talk about your mind, because that's where it's really going to help you the most. The reason why you were frustrated in that situation is you had a craving to go inside the temple, or you had a craving for people to treat you a certain way. Now, we're not talking about what's wise or unwise, right? Because obviously it's wise to welcome everybody into a certain building. But the thing is that we live in an impermanent world, and some people are going to function some way and other people are going to function another way. And it's unwise for us to look at people and judge them as being right or wrong or good or bad or anything like that. That's why I haven't said anything like that about this temple. But instead, just understand that there's impermanence in the world. And even though the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago, and it's very clear to me exactly what he taught and exactly how to get to enlightenment, not everybody studies with the original words of the Buddha and the original teachings of the Buddha. So you'll see misunderstandings in the world. And now when you go into some temples, they're going to let everybody come in like us. Or you'll go to another temple and maybe they'll say only men can come here. And I only know of one temple that's like that. I'm sure there's others in Thailand, but I only know of that one here in Chiang Mai. So the mind is going to crave permanence, right? It's going to want that thing. And if it gets what it wants, it gets happy. And if it doesn't, it gets sad or frustrated or angry. So that's just to help you to train your mind to let go and just be like, all right, well, they don't want me in their temple. Fine. I'm not interested in going anyway, because you can see that this temple isn't really practicing the true teachings, which is to be welcoming to all people. Mm-hmm. Other questions you guys have? Yes, sir.
I do appreciate the teaching today. It's really enlightening. And the question I want to ask is about the state of Nirvana. Because when I visited the temple here, I saw a lot of pictures about the life of Buddha. Mm-hmm. And in one picture, Buddha reached the state of Nirvana. So I would like to ask, what is the nature of the state of Nibbana?
Sure. So Nibbana is the Pali word for enlightenment, right? So you might have heard Nibbana, which is from the Pali language. Nirvana is from the Sanskrit language. And from the English language, we say enlightenment. Okay, so what this is where you've uprooted the pollutions out of the mind. These are referred to as the 10 fetters. There's these 10 individual pollutions that the Buddha discovered. And when you apply his tools and techniques to your mind, you can uproot these pollutions out of the mind. And as you do, the mind will now perform optimally. And it's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that you experience this. The mind will be completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. You'll no longer experience any of those feelings that I mentioned, like anger, sadness, frustration, and all those others. Because your mind is performing optimally, you'll have focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory because you don't have those pollutions any longer. When you have those pollutions in your mind, you're kind of hindered where you will lack focus, concentration, clarity, and memory. And then you'll also notice that your personal, professional relationships are really blossoming. You'll notice that you don't even have a bad mood, that it's physically impossible for you to experience a bad mood as an enlightened being, that it just can't happen. It's not possible for your mind to experience that. You'll notice that your mind will be cheerful, bright, glad, radiant, and uplifted at all times during your day, from when you first wake up all day long and as you're going to sleep. You'll notice that you don't even get exhausted or tired. It's impossible. You'll get sleepy where you need to sleep, but you won't get exhausted because as an unenlightened being, you'll have craving, desire, attachment in your mind where you want things to be a certain way. And if you go out in your day and everything's going your way, you'll be like, wow, this was such a great day. Oh my gosh, this was so fun. But then you'll go outside the next day and things aren't going your way, the way you want them to be. And now you'll come home, you'll be like, this was such a horrible day. And you'll feel exhausted and tired, like you have bricks on your shoulders. So as an enlightened being, you don't experience that. You can actually maintain your joyful and uplifted mind at all times during your day because it's what we call unconditioned mental state, where the mind's been completely purified and now you're experiencing these qualities at all times. And there's no condition that is causing it. So therefore, there's nothing that can happen in order for that to be taken away. So like the happiness that you experience now, you get happy if your bank account balance is up here, and if it goes down here, you get sad. Or if you get to go to Thailand and your flight's on time and you go to the airport and you see all these wonderful things in Thailand, you get so happy. But then when someone has to go home, they're like, I don't want to go home, right? Oh, I like the mango and sticky rice, the massages and the elephants. I don't want to go home, right? So the mind can only be happy when it's getting what it wants. That's called conditional happiness. And because there's some condition that is causing it, when that condition is no longer present, your mind's going to end up in the painful feelings. So an unenlightened being will experience conditional feelings where they'll go up and down and up and down. These feelings will arise, they will change, and then they will fade away. That's what's happening to your happiness as an unenlightened being. But an enlightened being experiences unconditional happiness, where the mind doesn't have any condition that is met in order to produce that happiness. So it just stays in that happiness. But it's not that bouncing off the walls, oh my God, I'm so excited happiness. It's where the mind's cheerful and bright and glad and uplifted and radiant at all times. So this is a mental state that you can experience in this life, and then you'll enjoy that mental state for the rest of your life. You can also attain it at death as well, but it'd be ideal to attain it during your life, so then you can enjoy that mental state for the rest of your life. And now that you've attained that enlightened mental state, you're outside of the cycle of rebirth. The Buddha taught this cycle of rebirth, continuous rebirth. This is something that can also be independently verified. Oftentimes people don't have the wisdom of how to do that when they're first getting started on the path to enlightenment, and that's okay, because you can set that aside. You should never believe in any of the teachings, but ultimately you can independently verify this cycle of rebirth, that you're being reborn over and over and over again. But once you get to enlightenment, you're outside of that cycle of rebirth, and you won't experience rebirth. That if you're unenlightened and you die, you'll keep coming back over and over and over again, continuing to experience the difficulties and struggles of this world until you cultivate enough wisdom that you can transcend it, and now you can escape from the cycle of rebirth. So the path to enlightenment isn't about necessarily the escaping of the cycle of rebirth. It's about doing this inner work and growth and development to be able to get to this peaceful and joyful mental state. And you can see your mind gradually doing that in this life, where oftentimes people teach teachings that you believe, and then you hope something good happens when you die, where that's not the teachings of the Buddha. It's to get to a wonderful life now, in this life, where you've trained your mind. And you'll be able to see your mind's doing this because you know in situations where you were once angry and sad or frustrated or some other discontent feeling, and you'll have that same exact situation occurring, and your mind's peaceful and it's joyful, and you'll know it's these teachings that are doing that. So this is a bit about this enlightened mental state. And there's different stages that your mind goes through before you get to enlightenment itself. And it's gradual that your mind is getting to this. Oftentimes people think that the Buddha sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. And this isn't actually true. He says it in his teachings very clear. And for anybody who's experienced enlightenment, they know this as well, that it's not instantaneous, that it's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. It took the Buddha 6 years to get to this enlightened mental state. So it's going to take you some time to be able to train your mind, but it's kind of like climbing a mountain. And when you get to the top and you get the fresh air and the beautiful view, you get to stay there. Where normally when you climb a mountain, you have to come back down. But with the enlightened mental state, it's a permanent mental state that you'll be enjoying for the rest of this life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome. I saw someone else grab a microphone. Someone have a question back there? No? Change your mind? You have a question? Yes, ma'am.
In my life, there were some people who behaved not very well to me, like abused my trust. And before, I easily excused everybody because I thought like hatred is gonna be worse for me than for them, and it's not gonna change them. It just will be bad for me. But now I feel like hatred towards these people is kind of like control of my emotion and protection for myself. And I don't feel hatred is something negative. I feel it's like give me energy and it's very positive for me. And but recently I talked to my friend and she said maybe I should excuse these people like from inside me. But I don't feel like this hatred gives me something negative. As I said, like I feel it give me protection, like position, ethical position, like I don't like these people because they are not very good people. And but when I was in meditation today, I thought I still can wish them happiness, because I think like if they're happy, they will not repeat bad behavior to other people. But I still feel like hatred is something that give me energy. So I would like to hear the what Buddha would say about it.
Sure. So the anger, hatred, and ill will is kind of like holding on to a hot coal and trying to burn somebody else. The only person getting burned is yourself. Because when you have that anger and hostility and resentment in your mind, it's not just towards that person. It's in other situations too that it comes out. And now when you come out with that anger and hostility through your intention, speech, and actions, it's damaging your relationships. It's producing unwholesome results for you. Because as long as you put out anger, hatred, and ill will, it just comes back to you. This is the natural law of karma, of cause and effect, or action and result. This isn't anything mystical or magical, or it's not about punishments and rewards or anything like that. It's just the results of your decisions, that when you function unwisely and you make unwise decisions, you put out that hostility, it all comes back to you. So by you choosing to free your mind of that anger and hatred, now you can have love and kindness for others. And the only reason why that anger is in there is because you have a certain craving, you have a certain expectation that this person should have acted a certain way. This is the mind craving permanence. I want everybody to do things this way. And if they do it that way, you'll like them. But if they don't do it that way, you'll dislike them. And what you need to be able to get to is where you can separate the choices and decisions that that person made from the person themselves, where you can disagree with the choices and decisions they're making while still loving the person, right? Because you'll never agree with everybody in the things that they do. There's actually only one person in the world that you will agree with 100% of the time, and that does things your way 100% of the time. Do you know who that person is? Who does? Yeah, it's you, right? That's the person who does things your way 100% of the time. So if you can only love people who do things your way, and you'll hate people who don't do things your way, then there's only one person in the world that you can love. And you might even have difficulties loving that person too from time to time, right? Because you put expectations on yourself and now you don't meet your own expectations. So you can get free of all of this, where you understand that, yes, this is the way you choose to function, but you're not interested in judging other people as being bad or wrong or no good just because they don't do things your way. They could truly be doing something that's unwise, but your mind hating them doesn't help you at all. So the mind's ego in the unenlightened state, it'll think my way is the right way and everybody else's way is the wrong way. And now it'll judge people, and it'll put itself above people, and it'll look down on people, and then it'll start hating people. So what you got to do is you got to be able to transform this, so that way you can just have love and kindness for everybody. Because that anger and the hatred isn't protecting you. All it's doing is it's putting a wall between you and other people, where you can actually break that wall down. And you can make wise decisions of who to spend time with, where if you see somebody doing something unwise, you disagree with it, you're not interested in being around it, and now you can just choose to go do something else without judging them, without looking down on them, without hating them. And just understand, okay, they're making those decisions, not interested in being around that, I'm going to go over here. And now I can still love them, meaning I have a genuine interest in seeing them be well, because I can separate the choices and decisions that I disagree with those, but I can still love the person. And this will keep you protected truly, because right now your mind's not actually protected, because as soon as somebody does things opposite of the way that you want them to do it, you're going to be angry again. So it's not actually protected. The hatred, the anger isn't actually protecting you. What protects you is to get rid of all these pollutions that the Buddha discovered. Now your mind's liberated. Now it's free. No matter what happens, you can maintain your peace and your joy, but then you can make wise decisions to have the experience that you'd like to have. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome. Other questions? See someone crawling for a microphone. All right. It just takes a second. They're Buddhist microphones. You got to be patient with them.
Okay. I was wondering if it exists to have a craving desire, to don't have craving desires, because I've noticed I've been studying for a while now, and I have become very harsh on myself, because I keep failing and failing and failing. So I don't know if it's possible to be happy in the process of trying to to get there. Like I know Jesus had a phrase of like, how was it like? Be, I don't know how to say in English, like being in the world without being the world, something like that. I don't know if the Buddha was also like, is there a way to do it without devoting your life completely to it?
Yeah. So you're talking about studying, right? Is there a way to be in the world without pursuing that so aggressively? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like when you are in this path, like you're trying to apply the teachings, but you fail, you keep falling in the same. And I have become very harsh. Like I'm accumulating this guilt for not being able to get rid of my craving desires.
I see. Okay. So what this is this is a craving to be perfect today. Your mind's craving and wanting to be perfect today, where in reality, you're a work in progress. It's going to take you multiple years to get to enlightenment. So you're going to have plenty of missteps along the way to enlightenment. So you got to get rid of any craving or expectation that you're putting in yourself to just snap your fingers and be perfect today. Because that's not what this path is about. This path is about each time you're making a misstep, that you learn from that, you cultivate wisdom, and now you do better next time, right? You aim to do better next time. And gradually, you're stair-stepping your way towards enlightenment. So let me show you guys this. I actually have this picture that I will help you guys to be able to understand this. I'm going to go all the way to the end because this is like a lot of hundreds of slides in here because this is a full program. And it's all the way at the end of this program that I teach over multiple Sundays. There it is. Okay, let me back up. Okay, so this is a symbol that actually shows you and depicts your journey to enlightenment. Okay, so here you are as we are first coming into the world, and we're going around in this cycle of rebirth over and over and over and over and over again. Actually, let me switch over so the people online can see this. Sorry for you guys that are online, although I think some of you guys have actually seen this before. Okay, so you're going around and around and around and around in this cycle of rebirth. And notice that the path is really wide, it's really dark, right? Because it's living in the darkness. The mind doesn't have the wisdom to understand the world around you. So you're being reborn around and around and around. But then eventually you get on the path and you start progressing forward. And as you're progressing forward, notice how the path is narrowing in a little bit, but you're still having backward steps. You're still making backward steps. But then you kind of come up here, and now you have backward steps. You come up here, you have backward steps. But notice, even though you're making forward progress and backward steps, you're constantly moving forward. You're constantly moving up. So this is what you're experiencing, but you're having a craving and expectation to be perfect today. Right? So this is helping you to depict that you're going to have backward steps. And this one shows 6 backward steps. You're going to have a lot more than 6, maybe 600 or 6,000 mistakes as you're making your way to enlightenment. That's part of the journey, is that you learn from each one of those. When your ultimate goal is to cultivate wisdom, and that's what the Buddha is teaching you to do, is to cultivate wisdom. When your ultimate goal is to cultivate wisdom, there's no such thing as failure. Because everything that you do, you're cultivating wisdom, right? So if you have a relationship or you have a business or you're studying at school, I think you said, and if you so-called quote unquote fail, where maybe the relationship ends, or maybe you don't pass that exam, or maybe your business needs to close, that wasn't a failure. That was just that you had certain events that occurred and that maybe you learned for 2 years while you were operating that business. And now you know more about business than you did 2 years ago. Or maybe this relationship that was 6 months and then the relationship ended. You learned something in that relationship. If you pay attention to what you're experiencing on a day-to-day basis, you were cultivating wisdom during that 6 months. And now your next relationship can be better, right? So I'm with my wife now for 19 years. We've been together for 19 years. I had plenty of girlfriends before her, and I even had a wife before her. And I was having to figure out, how do I have a healthy relationship? So each one of those relationships weren't failures. That was just me being a work in progress and learning and growing and developing to understand how to have a relationship. So you're going to have missteps along your way. And you got to get rid of any craving to be perfect today and understand that there's no such thing as failure, because the ultimate goal is to cultivate wisdom. And in each one of these situations where you're having missteps, you can cultivate wisdom if you look at it and you look inward. Where when you start blaming other people, not that you're doing this, but if people blame others for the things that they're experiencing, then you never cultivate wisdom to make improvements. So you like to always look inward and figure out what can you do to improve what it is that you just experienced, so that the next time you experience those same set of circumstances, you can make better decisions. And now you can improve little by little by little by little. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You have another question? Yes, sir. Yep. Thank you for being the microphone attendant. I appreciate that. Or they probably appreciate that.
Sorry to bother you again.
You're not bothering me.
Yeah. This question was asked on behalf of my friend, because my friend is online.
Okay.
But he couldn't ask because due to some technical issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he would like to know, during his trip to Thailand, he discovered that the Pure Land, so-called Suhavati of Mahayana Buddhism, doesn't actually exist in Theravada Buddhism. And he had always believed that his father has been practicing his faith in the Pure Land ever since he passed away. This realization came as a huge shock to my friend. So he would like to know, does this Pure Land actually exist?
The Buddha never taught this. This is a big misunderstanding that people talk about. This is from Zen Buddhism, where people talk about pure land Buddhism. The Buddha never taught that you're believing a bunch of things and then being reborn in this pure land that they talk about. This is a huge misunderstanding. He talks about the cycle of rebirth, that if you don't get to enlightenment, you will be reborn back into this world in one of the 5 realms. And if you get to enlightenment, either during this life or at death, you have escaped out of the cycle of rebirth. And he doesn't describe what comes next. He intentionally leaves it as an undeclared teaching of what comes next. So I actually see your friend here on YouTube. I see his comment now. I didn't look earlier. But yeah, this Pure Land Buddhism is completely a misunderstanding. The Buddha never taught this. This is the challenge, because the original teachings of the Buddha are in 45 volumes of books that are this thick. It's called the Pali Canon. And the book series that I have here, it's 13 books, and we consolidated it down into 13 books. But because it's been 45 volumes of books for so long and it's so expensive to print out, the average person doesn't study the original teachings of the Buddha. The average ordained practitioner, even here in Thailand, the average person doesn't study the original words of the Buddha, because the average person here in Thailand would have to spend about 3 months of their salary in order to be able to purchase the full collection of the teachings of the Buddha. And most people don't own a book collection worth 3 months of their salary. So what we've done is we've consolidated it, and then we make it available for free, where people can download it, or they can take it and go print it, or they can get printed versions here by reimbursing us for the printing cost, or they can order it on Amazon. Then that way you can see what did the Buddha teach and what he didn't teach. Because right now I'm sharing with your friend that the Buddha never taught the Pure Land Buddhism, and that there's some pure land for people to go to after death. But your friend shouldn't believe me, right? They would be wise to go look at these books and these resources to be able to see for themselves of what did the Buddha actually teach. So since you're online, I don't know your friend's name. What's your friend's name? Elaine. So Elaine, since you're online, you can go to our website, buddhadailywisdom.com, and click on free books, and then you can see all the book series there, and you can actually download it for free if you like, and then you can see what the Buddha actually taught and what he didn't teach. And there's a specific teaching where he talks about that he left it as an undeclared teaching of what comes next for an enlightened being, and then you can see that he actually taught the cycle of rebirth for individuals who are not yet enlightened. And that way you don't believe me, but you can see the original words, and then you don't believe the books either, right? You can actually learn and practice and train your mind, and then you can actually independently verify these things for yourself. Yep, you're welcome. All right. Looks like you have a question.
I'm easily provoked and make some extreme remarks or actions. To be precise, sometimes I feel hurt easily. When I feel hurt, I want others to feel the same as me. I will hurt others, but it's not good to hurt others. In fact, I sometimes think that I was not like this when I was a child. Or a few years ago, I had a child at the age of 20 and got divorced. In China, people discriminate against the divorced people, and they will think that it is a shame for me to have a child at a young age without studying. I am always troubled, ridiculed, satirized, and even billed for this matter. I became more and more irritable, and even became a roaring beast. But when I was not attacked, everyone said I was very peaceful. How can I bless those who hurt me?
How can I do what for those that hurt me? Oh, bless them, you said? Did you say, how can I bless those that hurt me? Is that what you said?
Okay. How can I bless those who hurt me?
Bless them. Okay. So are you trying to say, how can I forgive them? Is that you're trying to say that word maybe? Or are you actually really saying bless them?
Bless them.
Okay. So there's no such thing as a blessing. Oftentimes people go to ordained practitioners or priests or people like this, and they think that they're being blessed. So what a blessing is if you look at a blessing, it's that God has some type of favor for you and that God is going to do something amazing for you. This isn't actually true. God isn't the one who's controlling what you experience in your day-to-day life. So it's not possible for you or anybody else to bless another person. Think about how much ego someone has to think that they can bless you. Like there's nothing special about any other person. We are all equal. The Buddha didn't go around blessing people, right? Because the Buddha is a wonderful individual and he had a lot of wisdom, but he doesn't have the ability to bless somebody. But nowadays you see people in the spiritual world that might put their hands on somebody or they might wave their hand and they say they're going to now bless you. Okay, well, what gives them the ability to bless you? You are equal to that person. But in that person's mind, they think that they're above you and they think that they can somehow bless you. This isn't actually true. This isn't anything that's going to produce any beneficial results in your life. In order for you to experience improved results in your life, you need to make wise decisions, and that's what produces wholesome results. So it's not possible for you to bless those people that have been in your life, but you can train your mind to let go of any kind of expectation that you have of them that is causing your mind to experience painful feelings. I think she's looking at her translator.
Because my translator tell me, you tell us bless others.
Yeah, I didn't use the word blessing, so I think that your translator probably is misunderstanding that word. I didn't use that word during my talk. What I was saying was get to the point where you have love and kindness for others. That's what you would like to be able to get to, where you eliminate your anger, hatred, and ill will towards others.
Okay, love others.
What's that? Love others. Yeah. You would like to have love for all beings.
Forgive other, love other.
Yeah, that's what you need to do. You need to be able to do this loving kindness meditation. But also, since I've got these visual aids up here, let me show you this. This, even though it's in a different chapter with a different heading, this is the Eightfold Path. This is the core central teaching of the Buddha. This is actually what you need to learn and practice in order to be able to train your mind to fully let go and get to the point where you have nothing but love and kindness for all beings. And I'm going to be teaching this on Tuesday in our course from 9 to 3. This teaching is actually, I'm going to be teaching it from 9 to 12:30. But this course that I'm teaching next week, it's from 9 to 3, Monday through Friday. And you can come if you like, and you can learn this. I'm actually going to be teaching the first step of this at 9 p.m. tonight, where I'm going to be teaching right view. But if you'd like to learn this entire path, on Tuesday morning, I'm going to be teaching that here in this classroom, because this is what you need to learn in order to fully train your mind and get to the point where it lets go. It'll take you a significant amount of time to learn it and develop it. But as you do, that's what's going to produce the complete transformation. But you've got to start at the beginning of just learning it from the first time. Okay. I don't see any other questions here. Are there any other questions here at the temple? No questions? Yeah, you have a question? Yes, ma'am. Here you go. I'll be the main person. You're welcome. The people online will appreciate that. There's a button though you need to press because they're not on until you turn them on.
Hello. I want to know that how to consider the accident or some bad things happen in our life. So my ankle was broken last night, and I got cold for 3 times in 8 days in January. But I will always do some exercise or walking, and I always do some tiny charity.
Okay.
So, and I am always be friendly and kind for my surroundings.
Okay.
So I don't know how to explain this and how to face. But for me, I think I'm very willing to make friends with others. So when I was in the hospital last night, I have the time to cut some videos, yes, to do some work. And I know that I came here yesterday, sit up there.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so I think I have the time to be calm because I cannot walk too much. So maybe I will move to nearby to learn the next week lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I have the time to do this kind of, yes.
Can you explain to me how you broke your leg or break your ankle? What was the circumstances?
My right ankle when I was in Hong Kong 2 years ago, and there's something wrong with it, and I'm very easy to do something wrong with my right ankle. But yesterday I get off from the motorbike, and there's a hill, and I cannot stand well, so I fell down.
Okay. So do you ride motorbikes regularly?
I don't ride too much.
Have you ever taken a course of how to ride a motorbike?
No.
Okay. So it's always your decisions that are leading to any particular result that you experience. And with a lack of wisdom, you will tend to make unwise decisions, and then you will experience unwholesome results, right? It's not about who's to blame or who's at fault or anything like that. It's just seeing the cause and effect relationship of how and why you experience certain things that you experience. So if you're on a motorbike in a place like Thailand or really any other place, if you've never trained on how to ride a motorbike and you don't have much skills on how to ride a motorbike, it's completely understandable that, sure, you've had an accident now, right? That you weren't able to control the motorbike or whatever happened, and now you've experienced this. This is the cause and effect, that there were certain decisions that you made that led to this ankle issue. With that said, no matter how enlightened you are, no matter how much you train your mind and get to enlightenment, there's 5 things that you can't avoid. That you can't avoid: sickness, aging, death, loss, and destruction. These are the 5 unobtainables. You can't obtain permanent health, permanent youthfulness, permanent life, and you can't have permanent possessions because these things are all going to experience loss and destruction because of the universal truth of impermanence, that things are constantly changing. So even if you're enlightened, you can still experience sickness in the body because this body is not permanent. It's going to experience sickness from time to time. So the problem isn't that this body is sick. The problem is your mind wants it to be healthy and you're craving permanent health, where in reality it is impermanent, right? So this broken ankle, it's unfortunate that this has happened, but it's from decisions that you've made. And if I was you, I would advise you to maybe step aside from the motorbikes and not ride them for a little while. And if you're going to ride them, is take some training so that you can learn how to ride them well. And then that way you'll have more confidence and you'll have more skills in how to actually ride a motorbike. But even with that, you can still get into an accident because you can still experience sickness. You can still experience loss and destruction, which is what you've experienced here. So you would like to make as wise a decisions as possible so that way you can minimize these types of things. But you always would like to look at what are the decisions that I made that led to this particular result. And that's why I asked you those questions. Do you ride motorbikes regularly? Which I figured you probably didn't. And have you taken any training? And I figured you probably hadn't. Right?
Last night I was a passenger, not made to ride a motorbike.
Okay, what about your driver, the person who was driving? Who was it?
It's the Grab driver. So I think maybe it's professional. But he stopped a hill, so maybe it's too dark and he didn't realize.
Yeah, so there were certain decisions that he made, right? So you made the decision to ride a motorbike with someone that you don't know, and you don't have an understanding of that person's skill and what their proficiency is. And now your decision to do that, now his decisions led to this accident, right? So there was a sequence of events here. That's what the natural law of Game is showing you, is the sequence of events that is happening. And that this is a decision that you would like to look at and say, hey, is it wise for me to get onto the back of a motorbike of somebody that I don't know? And am I able to travel safely? And now, in that situation, you can easily get into an accident. Even if it was the most skilled motorbike person in the world, you could still potentially get into an accident because remember, this body is not going to be permanently healthy. You can still experience loss and destruction and sickness. But you would like to make as wise as decisions as possible and decide whether this is wise for you to be doing those kinds of things. Yeah.
Thank you.
But it's not like there's some mystical, magical thing that's happening that's forcing you to experience that. That's not what it is. It's always choices and decisions that we make, a sequence of events that is leading to any particular result that we experience. This is the cause and effect of the decisions we make. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so I guess I'll end just by thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest to learn and understand the teachings of the Buddha. If you guys would like to learn more, where I teach more in depth, you can look at our calendar over there, or you can look on our website and you'll see all those options. You can also come talk to me and I can help you get plugged into what you need in order to help you to learn and grow and develop. So whatever you choose to do today, have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Sawadee-kap. Sawadee-kap.
Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.